Why won't my boyfriend come inside my house? My boyfriend Parker used to love coming over until one day he suddenly refused to enter. When I needed to grab work clothes, he offered to buy me new ones. The next day, he parked 3 houses down instead of my driveway. I tried everything. Downloaded his favorite movie, asked him to help move furniture, but he just hired movers instead. Once it started raining hard and he got completely soaked rather than step under the covered porch. When I pressed for a reason, he said, I'd rather not discuss it. He suggested I move in with him immediately and offered to pay my lease penalty. He'd already put a deposit on a new apartment without telling me. I checked our security cameras from his last visit. There was a gap in the footage from 6:18 to 6:27. 9 minutes of black screen. His wine glass had moved to the opposite side of the coffee table. My neighbor mentioned seeing Parker walking around my house for hours, taking photos and measuring distances between windows. I found his laptop history showing searches about my address, property records, and news articles going back to 1890. I threatened to break up with him if he didn't explain. I can't explain it in a way that would make sense, he said. You wouldn't believe me. I asked if my house was dangerous. He said no. I asked if he was afraid. He said fear wasn't the right word. The right word was incompatible. Then he proposed, but said we'd have to sell my house first. When I refused, he withdrew the ring. I can't marry someone who lives there. Once it's sold, it would be their problem. I found a note in his handwriting, a list of dates and times going back months before we'd met. Next to the last date was my address and one word, confirmed. 20 different addresses were crossed out before mine. When I confronted him, the truth came out. He'd been part of online groups for 3 years, studying houses that affected certain people differently. He'd been testing his reaction to 23 different houses. Our meeting wasn't random. He'd targeted me to observe someone who could live in one of these spaces without problems. I drove home alone and started investigating. I found newspaper articles from 1934, 1967, and 1998 about tenants who abandoned the property claiming someone else was living in the walls. My roommate Anna and I measured every room. There was a 3-foot gap near the living room shelves that shouldn't exist. I called a home inspector who found temperature variations behind the shelves and tiny gaps suggesting painted over hinges. With witnesses present, he opened the panel. Behind it was a narrow void space with blankets arranged like a bed, empty water bottles, and food wrappers. Someone had been living in this space. The inspector retrieved a small black box, a Wi-Fi jammer that disrupted our cameras at exactly 6:18, then turned them back on at 6:27. I called 911. Police explained this was frogging, when people secretly live in occupied homes. They found an access hatch outside, painted to match the house siding, completely invisible. Parker's car came speeding down the street. For the first time in weeks, he crossed onto my lawn. He broke down, admitting he'd suspected someone was living in the walls. He'd felt it when the cameras went dark. Something wrong with the electromagnetic field. That's why he said incompatible. His body couldn't handle being near the interference. The detective got a call. We got a match on the prints. This person is known for this type of crime. 3 days later, police caught the suspect trying to access another house. He'd been living this way for 6 years, moving between houses and surviving off stolen food. My landlord got hit with massive fines. I got immediate lease termination. Anna and I moved to a modern building downtown with keycard entry and cameras everywhere. Parker was right about the danger, even if his methods were completely wrong. Sometimes the truth sounds insane, but trying to control everything, instead of just being honest, causes way more damage than the truth ever could.